Carrie, I don't try to force people to see it the way I see it, right?
Right.
But once you do start to see it, it's freeing. Okay, go. You live, girl. You got to go up
Yeah,
13
I
seconds
already
in.
told you. Yeah, I told you. So, welcome to Unusual Suspects, where we're having unusual conversation. The conversation is already in progress. This happens every time when we bring this fire and we start talking about things that we really mean, things that we're really passionate about, and the words start exchanging, energy starts flowing, and just this natural innate ability to just understand life comes out. And that's what's happening right now on Unusual Suspects, where we have these unusual conversations. My name is Carrie Crosby. I am the owner of ATBA Impact Group. You can find me at the saidname.com and at gmail.com. Today, we are just talking about our ability, our power to create our own lives. And it is our duty to do so because only we can walk this path. Only we will uniquely have the experiences we have, and what we do with that, we take that and we cultivate what type of life we want to live, what we want to do, what makes us happy. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. I have my guests, Sean Speaks and Raymell Bentley of Bentley Transformation, and we are just going to keep flowing this conversation. So what y'all jumped in on and heard us talking about was Raymell was sharing how, sometimes we talk and we use our jargon. We use the concepts that we gathered and that works for us. And we are in the process of relating that to other people. And then other people take what we say and they apply their own definition to it and say that we are saying something that we never said because their definition of something and our definition of something is completely different. So they're taking it in a way that we didn't necessarily mean it. But one thing that we are speaking about is we can't control how other people perceive what we say. We only have the responsibility to say what we feel is needed to be said. And let it fall where it may, let it be interpreted however it is, and that's okay. And relinquishing that guilt that we sometimes put on that. So, Raymell, expand on that a little bit. Tell them. I mean, we just got there. It wasn't none of this double dutch. It was none of that. I just jumped right into the
Yeah, you jumped all the way in. I'm trying to share. Can you tag me? Do something so I can, because so it'll pull up. She just went. She just like
I just went straight in. So
she went right in.
while y'all do that, I'm going to share it and I'm going to try to pop it on both of your pages. But Raymell, you start off and just tell them a little bit about yourself, who you are, and how we feeling about creating our own lives.
Hello, everyone. My name is Raymell Bentley, transformation coach, CEO, and founder of Bentley Transformation, helping others strengthen their minds, sculpt their bodies, getting spiritually aligned with what they desire and making it become their physical reality. And what we were speaking in regards to was just as I'm becoming more awakened to just my purpose and what my assignment and mission here on earth is, I realize that I'm just a vessel to deliver the messages from the source to others. And every morning when I wake up, I literally surrender and I say, use me whatever way you want me to be used to deliver whatever messages you want to be just out into the world. And a lot of people, they misinterpret a lot of certain things that I say, and especially when it comes to the word death. And a lot of people think it's a bad thing, but when we realize that energy never dies, it only goes in form and out of form. We are only renting these vessels. It's like when you go to a car rental and you're renting a car. You have that car for a certain period of time, and then you have to get it back. And the same is with these vessels. We have these for a short period of time, which we think is longer than what it is, and we think once we're done renting this vessel that it's just the end. And no, we're just going into a different form. And a lot of people, when I speak in regards to the word death or just that, they think like it's something that I'm saying is wrong or right, and they take it so personal. But I'm just a vessel that it's just being used to share what I like know as my reality and just align with others who share the same beliefs.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Sean.
Absolutely. You know, the thing about death, I think I learned how to process death in a way that gives life around the time that my dad passed away. And it was actually it actually occurred beforehand, so I had no idea that my dad was about to pass away. So it wasn't like it was something that he had been lingering and anything like that. But I started to understand death from the perspective of life, and I started to understand life from the perspective of death. And I removed all of these assumptions I had based upon what was taught to me, right? So when you're taught, especially if you're taught in a religious setting, you're kind of taught that if you died and you want to go to heaven or you don't want to go to hell, you're taught from that perspective, right? So when I was kind of trying to understand death, but from a organic perspective, without the filtering of other people or other people's ideas, I said, okay, Sean, what is it that you do know about death? Right? Then what happened was my dad passed. Right? And so, of course, when my dad passed, me and my dad was super close. Like, that's my buddy. He talked every day, 3-4 times a day. Right? But now he's no longer present.
Right.
And so I said, okay, Sean, what is it that you do know about death? I said, okay, well, my dad passed. We put him in a grave. We put him in the ground. Right? I said, well, what I do know is that if I go back right now and dig the grave up, that my dad's body, what I consider to be his physical body, is no longer there. Where is it? Right? It's back in the ground. What comes from the ground? Crops, flowers, trees, right? What do I eat? Vegetables, right? If I eat animals graze on the ground, right? They graze on the grass. So then it hit me. Okay, wait a minute. That's life, right? So then it goes to what you were saying, Raymell, right? That's energy. So is my dad really gone, or is it death in the sense of something to be afraid of? No, in fact, my dad actually may be more powerful to me now than he ever was when he was in his physical body, right? Because now I can connect with his energy. So now I got his energy directly feeding me because I'm processing it as power. I'm not processing it as something to be sad about. I'm not processing as something to be begging and hoping that he's in heaven. Why would I want the energy power of my dad to go be locked up in a place called heaven or whatever you want to call it, when I can still use that power and that energy today, right? Because that's what he would want. He would want anyway, right? Based upon just my knowing of my dad in his life, he wouldn't want he wouldn't want the greatest power that he could ever share with me to be cut off in my own mind, because I think I have to go lock him up in a place called heaven. Why? It makes no sense. I'd rather be able to connect with what it is that I do know. And that's what I do know. I don't have to worry about or concern myself with what I don't know. And that is what makes people so sad about death, right? It's because they're so focused on what someone told them through their imagination about the other side of death, right? I heard Alan Watts say something, and I thought it was very, very powerful, right? We don't necessarily know where we go back to when we're no longer in this physical life. But if whatever place we go back to is from whence the place we came, right? So can you see behind the back of your head? No, right? So, so nothing is there. So from nothing comes nothing, but from nothing, everything is created, right? So basically, to me, when somebody died, when I processed my dad's death as him going back into nothing, right? Which I call now into the ether, so that I now have the power to create. No more patterns from other people, no more rules, no more regulations, going back to the ether, going back to the place of nothingness, so that now I can create something, right? With that energy power. And it just, when I started processing death that way, it just frees you, right? It frees you to understand that it's life and death are one and the same.
So let me ask you this as a follow-up question.
So for those people who are more on the fundamental side of death, where it's just here and gone, do you believe that there is consciousness after the physical has gone back into the air?
Well, I will tell you from a practical standpoint that and I never asked myself that question. So that's a great question. Thank you for challenging me on that. I would have to say, now that you've asked me that way, right? You just opened me. I'm gonna have to say yes to it, right? And let me tell you why. Up until you just asked me, I've never asked myself that question, right? But in my bedroom, I have a picture of my dad on my mirror, and then I have a picture of my dad on my curtain. And I talk to my dad, and I blow kisses to my dad, and I'll have a conversation with my dad, and I feel a conversation back. Right. So, I didn't interpret it as necessarily a consciousness, but now that you're asking me that directly, I'm going to have to say yes to that, right? Yeah. I'm going to have to say yes to that question.
Yeah. You want to tap on that, Raymell? The conscious aspect of beyond.
I believe so, because when we really get out of the physical realm of it, we know that we're spiritual beings. So once we leave physical form, the spirit is still there. So consciously, we knew that we chose to come here into this physical form because there was contribution that was needed. And we seen all the chaos that was happening. So we're like, sign me up. I'm going to deal with all of it because I know I'm strong enough to handle it. But when we come in physical form, we let the things of the world start to detour, and it's a program that we have to, because we have programming from our parents, grandparents, and it just goes into the generational thing. So where once we unlearn certain things, we really learn that we're powerful beings, and consciously we know that we're not going to be here forever. So do all that we can while we're in this physical form to contribute. And once we leave, we know that there's still things that may need to be done. We just don't know what it's going to be. But consciously, I believe that we know.
Yeah.
Let me say, this is one of the things that I've been working on. I'm just going to throw it out, and it's based upon something you said, Raymell. You know, most people, if you talk to them about saying that we decided to come here, that if you'd have told me some shit like that, I keep cursing. I'm sorry, Carrie. Right? I curse, y'all. I curse, right? They're just words, right? That's the reason why I curse now, because they're just words. But anyway, but if you'd have told me that shit 5 years ago or 6 years ago, I'd have been like, that Raymell is crazy, right? He is crazy. But now he's a little cuckoo. But now I connect to the power of understanding that you did choose to come here. And this is the way I processed it. We literally made a contract with our carriers of transport. And we basically, before our physical form, we said, okay, mom, dad, right? I'm gonna need for you to be my carrier to bring me to this earth because I got some stuff to do, right? Right? And as in the legal world, we call consideration is the thing you give in exchange for the contract that's being made, right? So money for property, that's right, consideration. So we did sort of like a pre-consideration arrangement. The pre-consideration arrangement was, okay, I'm going to forget all of who I am to take transport through your body, and I'm going to let you raise me. Right? And I'm going to let you teach me in this place that we've all created together. Right? Right? And it's pre-consideration. And the reason why I call it pre-consideration is because it's really not a contract. But when you're being taught as babies and as a young person, right, because it implants onto your subconscious mind, you process the information as if it's absolute, because you forget that you are the source power. Right? Right. And so what happens is we forget that we're the source power. We forget the purpose by which we chose to come here, right? And because we are abiding by a pre-consideration contract. Well, in law, one of the things you have to understand is that pre-consideration isn't valuable consideration, meaning there is no contract, right? So there is no contract. So even though I did pre-consideration, I agreed that I was going to forget my power. I agreed that I was going to come through transport, right? But what I did not agree to, and I could not have, is that once I'm here, I didn't agree to permanently forget who I am and the power that I possess, right? But it's up to me to reconnect to who I am, right? And so when you process the fact that you decided to come here because you saw this existence and you saw how you can add to the creation of this existence. But this is why it's very, very important that we each of us, right? We each of us connect to our power so that we can start to create this life how we want this life to be, right? And we have to, and we're going to have to breach some contracts, but we're not really breaching them because they were not actual contracts in the first place. They were just agreements of transport, right? That's all. Just agreements of transporting. Once you're here, you got to reconnect back with your power.
Right. Wow. Y'all got me over here. I'm like, you know it's good when the tongue come out the side. I gotta get this down. I hope y'all enjoying this conversation. Hello, Angel, Ryan, Ashley, and whoever else, Melva, anyone else I can't see because I'm going live on HBA and I'm sharing it out today. So I'm trying a little new thing here, but this conversation today has been absolutely amazing. Y'all let us know what y'all think about it so far. Ashley says, once you're here, you have to reconnect back with your power. Absolutely, absolutely. This is very intriguing. So that conscious aspect, the reason I asked that question is, while you were talking, especially about your dad and relinquishing the unknown, or more so, in a better way, embracing the unknown.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's I was like, so if we can feel the presence of other energies and we can possess it and we can see factually, tangibly that we are beings, our body goes into the ground because we all have a visual concept of what decay looks like. It goes back. But if we're saying all together, everything is recycled. If the body goes down, everything I hear and smell and touch and stuff, that's not something that's tangible. So if I can do that, all of those things now, I should be able to do all those things later because that's not part of the flesh that decays. Because that's not what causes me to feel something. That's not a tangible thing. So if that is consciousness and this is the body, and if we're a spiritual being having a physical carrier through life and they separate at the point of death, you ain't gonna tell me that I can't talk to my father. You know what I mean? Because I can. And if, a lot of people would challenge this within the Christian community, especially, or the religious, I say community, not necessarily Christian community, religious community, is that you can't play with stuff like that. You can't, whatever. But they more than play with it. They worship it. They become it. That's the principle of Christianity. It's the fact that Jesus separated himself, but he's still present, omnipresent in their lives, and they embodies them as the Holy Spirit. That's what it's all about. That is the power. It's because at that point, that's why no man can destroy the spirit. That's why it's so important to embody the spirit of Jesus in the Christian community, in the all these things. What are you talking about? Buddhism and the chi and the wisdom and the it doesn't matter what religion you choose. There's something to do with someone who has transcended and sent back a comforter. That's what it's all about. That is consciousness. That is what's left here with us. That is where our power is embedded. And then I know there's also going to be the challenge, well, the heaven and the hell aspect, but that's still consciousness. How was it possible for these things to be described so elaborately if there wasn't a consciousness after death? Think about it. Who gave the description?
Well, okay. Well, you already know I don't have I have no belief in the actual construct of Christianity. Okay. All right. So I don't have a belief
That's
in
why
an
I love the
actual.
conversation, because
Yeah.
we can all think what we want, and we're going to show people how to have a conversation, even though you might not 100% agree with each other. Because
Absolutely.
it's about respect.
It's
It's
about
about
respect.
broadening your understanding. It's about sharpening your awareness. And it's about keeping your eyes and ears, not these now, your eyes and ears open and aware for the truth that's for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, with regards to how you described, right, the flesh, and then the sending the comforter, etc., right? I think where religion has done a great job, actually, right, but to a lot of people's detriment, is that what religion has done is that it hijacked existence through concepts, right? So when you talk about Jesus, or you talk about God, or you talk about the Holy Spirit, you talk about the Comforter, you're looking, if you're looking at those things or interpreting those things as a physical concept to bind yourself to as a worship thing, right? To me, that's where you're missing to me, you're missing the point, right? But if you take those concepts and you internalize them as who you are, right? Now it can be empowering, right? Even if you say, let's say for instance, you want to believe in Jesus, whether you think Jesus is a concept or whether you think Jesus was an actual person, the idea of the fact that Jesus was human, right? He said that he was the Bible says that he was both man, he was all God, and he was all man, right? So if you're saying, okay, this is Jesus, he's all God and he's all man, right? And you're saying that Jesus is the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? So that means, let's say he's the source, he's the experiencer, and he's the spirit or the energy, right? No matter what terminology, we can all use the same terminology, right? But at the end of the day, if we're saying that he's all those things and he's also our Father, our Creator, right? Then that means that whatever that source is, whether Jesus, God, or the Holy Spirit, we're all made up of it, right? And if we're all made up of it, I don't need to fight with Carrie about her Jesus, Christian faith, etc. I don't have to fight with her about that, because if she fully understands for herself what it is she's believing in, she knows that belief always boomerangs back to her, right? Now, what religion does is religion says, okay, yeah, this is the story, but I don't want you to understand it in a point of it boomeranging back to your belief in yourself, because I need you to worship a structure, a setup, right? So now I need for you to buy the cross, right? Because I've created an economy through the cross. I need for you to come to the church because I've created an economy in the church, right? Right. So, but when you start to understand, whether you call it God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit, whether you call it source, energy, right? It doesn't matter what you call it. But at the end of the day, if you really understand it for yourself, it always has to boomerang back to you. Because if you truly believe in a God, and you truly believe that God created everything and all things, meaning he created you, then that means that God had to use God to create you, which means you have to be God. Right? And if you are not God, then that means that you bought into somebody separating you from yourself. And if they're separating you from yourself, they done stepped in, and guess who's controlling you? Not you. Right? But if God created you and God is in you, you don't need an intermediary. Right? And what disconnected me from religion in its grander sense, right, and Christianity, because that was all I knew in its limited sense, was that it wasn't needed once I connected Jesus, God, and the Holy Spirit, right? it wasn't needed. I didn't need an intermediary. Why do I need an intermediary between my greatness and my greatness?
Right.
I don't.
You don't.
Right.
Right? And then when I saw, wait a minute, and then when I saw that for myself, then I got to see Carrie. And I got to see Carrie as God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. I got to see Raymell as God, Jesus, Holy Spirit. And I said, well, hush, God dog it. We're all sovereign beings.
Mm-hmm.
Come on.
And that's where we're at in a point in the world where a lot of people are feeling so powerless, and they're letting humans, they're letting these governments, these doctors, these presidents control their sense of freedom, of safety. And when we realize that that's what we can control, because it's based on our thoughts and our feelings, they can't control that. And right now, what I'm seeing in the world is a lot of people are easily controlled mentally. So they're going to feel powerless. And then what they're going to do, they're going to blame others for, you're not doing what I'm doing. You're not wearing a mask. You're not protesting. You're not doing this. And they're trying to pass their belief of fear, of doubt, of negativity on others, because that's how they see the world. In reality, we're not all going to see the world the same way. It's like two kids growing up in the same household with the same exact experience, but they have two different perceptions of what their like upbringing was. So it's not always going to be us seeing eye to eye, but the common connector is love. Yes. We have to see love in each other, but first we have to see it in ourselves. So now I know when people are, it's attacking me or like telling me I'm right or wrong, it ain't about me. It's about you and what you have to heal within yourself. So I release the judgment from myself, or even type of vibration of, am I doing good or bad? I know that I'm just walking in my purpose and fulfilling my assignment.
Yeah. See, you get boxed in this good, bad, right or wrong. You can really get boxed in that to the point where you almost become stagnant because you're so evaluating whether or not something is right or something is wrong, something is good or something is bad. But when you start to really connect yourself to being existence, right? Then you begin to realize that everything is in you, right? Every pill that we take, and I'm not saying don't take pills. I take med. If I'm sick, I'm gonna go take some cough medicine, make me feel better, right? Because I may need a more concentrated version of what's already in me. But if you really think about it, there is nothing that's created that's not already created. Yeah. So even when you create a pill or something that's supposed to heal a sickness, that has to already be in existence. Now, what has happened is now the chemical makeup, right? Maybe a little bit of more of this, a little less of this is kind of all chemically made up, right? Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, it's already in you. So really, what we're ingesting to heal us is already in us, right? It's just maybe the chemical makeup, the atomic makeup it's a little different, right? You may have a little bit more of something. And I think when you really connect to that, you begin to not be afraid of, somebody getting sick or, because I'm not afraid to die because I see death as life, right? Mm-hmm. So you're not gonna get me there, right? Because I came here to experience all of what I can create. Mm-hmm. Catch that. I came to experience all of what I can create, right? Mm-hmm. You don't have good health if you don't have sickness, right? You just don't. We only understand sickness because of health. Mm-hmm. And I think when you really can tie yourself into understanding that everything you need to heal is here, right? Stacey Henry Carr likes to say, I am always in the process of healing, right? My body is a systematic healing machine.
Yes, it is. Absolutely. I love that. That's good stuff, y'all. More snaps. More snaps. We're snapping it up today. They're snapping in the comments too. Snapping, clapping, and going on. So we got, hello, Lori. Thank you for joining us too.
Hey, Lori.
Hey, Lori.
They love every bit of it. So, okay, so I got a question for both of you that I want you both to answer, all right? So it's a good one. But if y'all know what it is right off, y'all just jump right in. But if you don't, I can share mine because, of course, I'm asking questions, so I already know what my answer is going to be. So what is the most recent awakening that you've had? Because like we're talking about a lot of stuff that I know some people listen to me like, God, what now? I need to hear more about this stuff. Like, where they get these from? Like, we don't just get here overnight. It's like it's a growing process. You know, there's some people that are on a different part of the path than where we are beyond or pre this conversation. So, what is the last awakening that you both individually, personally have had that just got you kind of to this level of thinking and thinking outside of the box? Like, where are you on your growth path? What is it? What's the last thing that was your aha?
I'll go first if you want me to, Raymell. Okay, I
Uh-huh.
think the most recent, and I shared this a little bit last week. The most recent sort of awareness that I have had is the uniqueness of my experience with the environment around me. I started to look at everything from an in, out, and around, right?
Okay.
So in me comes out of me, goes around me. And I kind of just been focusing on that. And I started to connect with just my interpretation of stimulus that comes in. I used the example last week of that if somebody taps me on the shoulder and taps you on the shoulder, we're going to have two different experiences of that event, right? And so what I'm connecting to now is that I get to organically interpret that experience, and we call it emotions, but a lot of times we're trapped in the emotions that people have told us, right? Happy, sad, jealous, anger, etc. Right? And we've sort of bought into those as the absolute emotions. And what I'm finding is that, okay, well, maybe it's not anger. Maybe when somebody does something to me, right, that I consider that I don't like, maybe that's not anger. Now, maybe that's the only definition right now that I have to fit that emotional or that feeling sensation or that feeling response to the environment. I may right now only have in my vocabulary anger, right? But when you start to realize that words are constructs that can bind you or free you, right? Then you begin to say, okay, well, I'm not angry because I'm not angry, not in a sense that I'm going to let this stop me or prevent me or get me off course. So you know what? Now I'm going to just say, okay, I'm going to diminish it from being anger. I'm not going to look at it as anger. I'm going to look at it as an opportunity to explore how this environment or this experience is making me process my environment, right? And when I start to do it that way, I'm beginning to learn why it is some people can build great businesses, etc., because they are not thrown off course by their emotions for as long as other people. Like if something bad would happen to me, that would just mess me up for a month, 2 months, 3 months, and throw me off course, right? Whereas some people, something happens to them that they can, let's say we're just calling it bad, they process it in 48 hours and let it go. Or they process it in 24 hours and let it go. I'm beginning to understand how they're doing that. And the reason is because they're taking whatever that stimulus that's coming in, instead of boxing it into the construct of somebody else's understanding, they're saying, okay, you know what? I am not going to look at this as good or bad. I'm not going to look at this as right or wrong. I'm not going to look at this as jealous, anger, hurt, pain. I'm going to look at this as a tool that I can use in the construction of my being. Right? So no matter what it is, it's useful.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what an awareness that I'm on.
That's real good. Hey, man, what about you, brother?
I think my biggest awakening is that I don't know anything. And once I release the happen to know, I'm able to learn. I'm able to see things from a different lens and not just from what I was programmed to see it as. So really being a student of life and letting it teach me through trials, tribulations, good, bad, when I lose things, lose myself, knowing that there's supposed to be a lesson learned. So just really releasing that I know, because we get often trapped in the knowledge we have and the things that we know, like, I know it, I don't need to know anything. And that's where you limit yourself from expansion, from growth. So once I really awakened to, I don't know anything, life is always teaching me how to become better, how to serve better, how to contribute better, and really fulfill my purpose.
I love it, love it, love it, love it, love
The power
it.
of the unknown. The power of the unknown.
Yes, it is.
Whew.
Yes, it is.
I like that, Ramel. I'm gonna bow to you on that one.
Thank you.
Yes, indeed. So we got some yeses from the audience. They loving it still. They loving it still. I was brought to the awareness today that I say I love it a lot. So, but I do. I love it.
That's the word.
Oh, good. So mine is the golden rule. Like I've been mind blown. I keep thinking about it. It's do unto others that you have them do unto you. Do unto others as you have them do unto you. I was always taught it was about the other person though. It's about
Mm,
because what I send out is what I'm gonna get back. And if you want to protect your life, follow that golden rule.
yeah,
Because if you are constantly sending out what you honestly would want to get back, that's the most powerful boomerang you will ever experience in your life. Because to me, for my awakening, it's like that's how I create my life. What do I want? Do I want help? Give help. Do you want love? Give love. Do you want respect? Give respect. Do you want someone to really listen and pay attention? Then listen and pay attention. Do you want to you want to find more creative atmospheres and avenues in your life? Be more creative. It's just truly do if I do unto others as I would have them do unto me. I create the perfect life for me because the people who are down and get down with what I'm doing, I don't have to force them to be there. They'll gravitate to me. And the people who can't stand my happy butt, they won't come around. Voila.
voila.
And there's my life. And that is what we're talking about. Creating the life you want. LaShawn hit on it when she's talking about really reinventing the definitions and the impact that those things have on your life. I wrote down conscious definitions to my emotions with the benefit in mind. That's what I got out of what she said. Because when I do that, I give all of my emotions reason. I give them purpose. And so they're just not there to harm me because if I tell them what I want them to do, they don't have a choice but to do that.
Yeah, yeah,
They're only controlled by me. And then Raymond talking about just being an empty vessel. And he chooses what stays there. But you have to come to the realization that I got to get rid of all of this stuff. I am an empty vessel. I came here empty. And all these people just been dumping stuff in my vessel. No, not anymore. This is mine. And I am an empty vessel. And I choose to stay that way. Because when I stay that way, things filter through instead of stopping me up.
exactly, exactly,
Come on through spirit today.
exactly.
I mean, I like this. I like this. I know.
The thread, the common thread of all of what we said was, and you could actually stack it. Raymell getting comfortable with the unknown, right?
Yeah.
That was one of the first awarenesses that I had when I started to disconnect from just being boxed in religion to being the power source was being comfortable with the unknown. I started to, if you go back to some of my old content, right? It was all about, letting the unknown be your best friend, right? Letting the unknown be that place where you can go back to, right, and start again, so to speak, right? Right. And then what I'm saying is connecting to your environment or your feeling response, allowing it to be organic for you. Right. You can use other people's words and definitions as guideposts, but you don't have to be bound by it. Right. And then using kind of what you're saying, Carrie, which is, just being, doing unto yourself. Right. What you would have done to other people. Meaning if I want love, then let me fill myself with love. And if I'm full of love, then when I connect with other people, I can't do nothing but give out love. Right. And then if they're not giving love, I probably won't even notice it, because all I know how to do is give love. Or two, if I feel like it's something that's depleting of me or pulling from me, it's going to connect, because I'm going to start feeling a little empty. I'm going to be like, this kind of making me feel a little empty. You know what I'm saying? Maybe the vibrational connection that we have, we're not on the same level yet. Now, that's not to say that you're better than me or I'm better than you, right? But it's all about a vibrational connection, right? If you think about magnets, what make magnets attract is because that atomic makeup is so similar that they draw onto each other, right? But if you don't want magnets to attract, just adjust the atomic makeup. And then that which was pulling towards each other now will repel, right? And that's what it's all about. And it's a common theme. But the source of all of it is you.
Yeah.
It's you. But what society, religion, education, even family and culture, what they've done a very good, brilliant, genius job, to be honest with you, is that they've gotten us really trapped in comparing ourselves to other people, right? And so I'm so looking at Carrie saying, well, Carrie got, 100 people. Why don't I have 100 people? But it's like what you say, Carrie. Okay, you're showing up as Carrie, and you're not caring if the 102nd person don't connect, because you're not giving out what you're giving out for the 102 person. You're giving out for the 1 to 100. And then when it's time for the 102nd person to come, those people that's ready to receive what you're giving will connect organically. Right. And so it's literally about connecting with yourself.
Yeah, it does. It goes back to, like, you give it out. If you don't want to receive it, don't be running around giving it. Period. Because you're going to ask someone and don't think it's that, but then it comes back to you, and you walk outside and you're tired of that. You had no idea it was even ever sleeping out of it. Like, things just come back around, because it's more so an inconvenience of, how do I put it? When you put out things that are incongruent with the best thing that could go out, then it blocks the best thing that could come in.
Say it again. That's powerful.
Block things from coming in from you because you done put something out that's in the way. So think of it that way. Like, if you really want to keep the door to your blessings open coming in, then don't send anything out that does not fit, because it's just gonna block your blessings. That's the way I look at it.
I think a lot of us still forget that we truly create our realities.
We really do.
It's easier for us to point the finger versus tell ourselves, like, okay, if I'm not in love with what I currently see, I have the power to change that. I have the power to shift that. And we have to become aware that truly your reality is based on your thoughts and your feelings, your emotion. The emotion is nothing but energy that's in motion towards whatever thought and feeling that you're having. So it's easy for us to focus on the lack of money, the lack of love, the lack of what happened, and give our energy and attention to it and be like, well, why am I attracting all this bad stuff in my life? Why am I having all these experiences? Because that's where your energy's going. But shift that. And that's the hardest part for us to really realize, where we're like, well, I have no money, I have no this, I have that. There's only certain things we can't truly control. And that's how we feel and what we think. We can't control the families we were brought into. We can't control our ethnicities. We can't, those are things that are out of our control. But what we do while we're in those things is based on our control. So you truly can change anything you're not in love with by changing your thoughts and your feelings, which is the hardest for us all, because that wasn't easy for me. It just wasn't one day I snapped my fingers and I became who I am today. That was a process, but we have to do the work. And I say that so much in my content because a lot of us think that it's just going to be given to us. We think if we get a coach and we do these programs that it's just going to have some magic, like, just pill that's going to help us shift it. We have to do the work. We have to do the work to unprogram. We have to do the work to learn new ways. We have to do the work to shift our surroundings and shift our realities. But we create our realities at the end of the day. Nothing else.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why, for me, and as y'all get to know me, you'll be like, oh, that's a lot of stuff Sean say she don't say. Right? But I try not to say blessings anymore. And let me tell you why. Because for me, subconsciously, right, blessings means that it's coming from somebody else to me. Right? And it puts me in a sit on the stoop, wait for it to come mode. Gotcha. Instead, what I've done now is I use kind of what you were saying, Raymell. I use energy, light, and love. I'm giving out energy, light, and love, right? Because where my attention goes, right, that's where my energy goes. My attention goes as my energy flows, right? If my energy is flowing there, that's what I'm going to create. What I'm going to create is going to come back in my magnetic field because I'm like a magnet. I'm going to draw that which I create onto me. Right. So for me, I'm disconnecting from the word blessing, not because I think the word is bad. It has nothing to do with that. It's because for me, subconsciously, I grew up waiting for the blessing, right? I grew up, when my blessing, the term for my blessing gonna come, right? And so because I'm trying to disconnect from that inner understanding, right? I have to now not use that word, right? Until I get to a place where when I want something to come into my life, I send energy, light, and love to myself of that which I want. Then I get full of it. When I'm full of it, I can't help in and out around. I can't help but to give it out around me. And when it's out around me, it's in my magnetic field. It's going to draw like a magnet.
Come on.
All of what it is that I did, what Raymell created, right? So that's for me. Like I can tell you right now, I do some elaborate thinking processes to detach from religion because religion has such a hold on me. So you're gonna see me, if you talk to me a lot, you're gonna see that I literally deconstruct everything and its molecular parts to detach from it. So that I can give an organic understanding to life in that area, right? So the more you talk to me, you'll be like, okay, is that a word you use, Sean? No, I've changed that word to,
we have to get a glossary.
Okay, I will share this though, just to give you an example, right? Like God, as you know, Carrie, you know how much I don't use the term God, right? And so, but for a long time, I didn't have any other word for it. So, and I wasn't comfortable be like, okay, Carrie's a God, Raymell is a God, I'm a God, right? That didn't work for me either. So I had to go through a transition where I got rid of the word God, right? And then I thought about, okay, what is God to me? Like, take away the religion, take away the Sunday services, take away that. When I think of God, what is it that I'm really thinking about? What are the characteristics? And so I went through what the characteristics were. Okay, I think of God as being universal, right? Because remember, I think Carrie has the power. I think Raymell has the power. I think every viewer that's watching has the power. Universal. Creative. You have the power to create the life you want. This is our conversation, right? So universal, creative. I think it's infinite. I think it's infinitely regenerative. Life never ends. Life never really begins. It's constantly complete, going over and over and over. So universal, creative, infinite. I think it's intelligent, right? So universal, creative, infinite, intelligent. And then because I decided to have this, what I call this physical body, this being. So universal, creative, infinite, intelligent being within me, right? So I started to say, every time I would want to say God, I started to say the acronym USIBWA. Every time somebody else would say God, I would hear and interpret that I would substitute in my mind USIBWA, because I wanted to get away from the limitations of what God was taught to me. And I wanted to organically connect with what it was that I'm saying about this God, right? Because this God isn't actually a thing. It's not actually a he or she, right? Right. And so for a long time, that was how I stopped using the term God, and it went from God to USIBWA. And then I said, one day I just was like, okay, well, if universal, creative, infinite, intelligent being is within me, then why do I need to box it in a word? It's just me. And then all of a sudden it became me. It became Carrie. It became Raymell, right? The love, energy, light, and love, we all have it. We all share it, right? We are the God, right?
Right. Yeah.
I know it sounds.
Oh, I get every bit of it.
You can tell by the look on her face. She used to people being like, "Now hang on, now wait a minute." Yes,
Well, you know what? I am, but I say it anyway because if you're not gonna own your own existence, then someone else is gonna own your own existence, right? You have to own your own existence, right? Otherwise, you're gonna just remain in complaint mode, and I got tired of being in complaint mode. To be quite honest.
Me too. Like, because I'm like, if you want to change it, change it. Because we use all these little cute phrases, and like, are you listening to yourself? Girl, you gotta be the change you want to see. But are you? Because if you complaining and you saying you gotta be the change, what did you change that made you complain? Because if you changed it and you complained about it, why did you do that then? Then change that too. Change it again and change it again and change it again and keep changing until it feels good. Because if you honestly believe that you can be the change you want to see in the world, then be that.
Exactly.
Just be that.
Well, I think a part of it, we get stuck in absolutes, right? We think that we get to a certain point, it's an absolute, and then we're done. I've arrived. It is it's constant, right? Sometimes I find myself having to reread something, right? Because I need it to really sink in, right? Or if I'm around people that may not vibe on the level I vibe or vibe the way I vibe, right? I may have to, be like, okay, I need to get refilled, right? I don't know. It's one of those things of connecting. You just have to constantly, it's a constant connection with yourself.
Yeah, and that's another thing that people often say, it's not about religion, it's about relationship. But yeah, how do you build a relationship with something that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't, this is because it's a feeling. And where do feelings come from? They come from that still space. They come from that empty space, which I heard on my favorite movie today. It's in the inside of us that's so empty. They're so full with an emptiness and the emptiness is so full that the universe pulsates inside of it.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
That is the one thing that connects us all, is that space inside that nothing can touch.
Yeah.
Nothing can touch it. And we all have that same pulsating inside of us that's just unmatched. And when we get in tune with that, that's why that field that you described that circles around you is when you really got yourself set and dialed in and plugged into your unique vibration. All the pieces fall into place, because I always see humanity and all of the world and all of existence as a plate dropped and shards with pieces and glass with pieces. And when you tune yourself, because you can take a plate and you can put it back together and there's still that one little nick in it. What satisfaction is it when you find it and it just fit right in there? You think you're never gonna find it, but when you're tuned into who you truly are and the God that truly pulsates inside of you, everything around you fits like little shards of things you couldn't even imagine that would show up in your life. You literally will be sitting down and be like, if only I had a pen. Oh, there's a pen. Like simple stuff. Just little things just show up. It's not in the big pieces that fall into place. It's the little shards that show up out of nowhere that lets you know that you're on the right path. Just something as simple as me going to a conference, and through that conference, me person after person after person after person that led me down this path of self-discovery by other people walking in their light. But it was helping shine the light for me to get to the center of myself, because I felt the pulsating. I felt that light inside of these people that can never go out, because it's the same light that I possess. So y'all up in here. Somebody just say, your time is up. Wrap it up.
No, I agree with you. I mean, I think that when you start to and actually I wrote it down. So because I was like, okay, when you have an experience of your own creativity, right? I always tell people, start to write, take notes about your life every day, right? So that you can see that you are the source of that creative creation in your life. So a couple of days ago, when I was went running, I came across about 5 pennies, right, on the street. So of course I pick them up. You don't pass by money, right? You pick it up. I pick it up, put it in my pocket, and then as I was running, I said, "Man, I said the next thing I'm gonna run across is a dime, right?" And so I kept running that day, and I got closer toward the end. I said, "I'm gonna give back a penny to the flow, right?"
Right.
So I threw the penny just back, on the path that I was on, right? And then I went home with my 4 pennies for the day, right? Now, remember, my thought was, I want to, I'm gonna find a dime, but I didn't find a dime that day, right? So the next day or the day after that, I went running, and then I find a penny. Right? So I was like, oh, I got my investment back from the club. Right? And then I say, man, I'm gonna get 25%, 25 cents now. Right? Finished the run, I walked, then I find 25 cents. Yesterday, I went running, and I went on a street that I had never been on, and as I was running, I ran up on a dime, nice little shiny dime, just right in my path. But this is the thing. It's not about finding the money. It's about making the connection to you as the source. I remembered when I found that dime, I remembered that a couple of days before I said I was going to find a dime.
Right.
And I connected that. Right? Now, also, remember I had mentioned something about 25 cents. Not even 500 feet away from the dime, I found a quarter, right? So I took a picture of it. You can see that.
Yeah.
I took a picture of that, right? So then I'm finishing up my run. So I run to my car because I went somewhere else to go running this yesterday. So get to my car. So as I get to my car, I said, man, I'm gonna invest back into the flow of penny, right? So I sit in my car, and I just threw the penny out in the parking lot, right? And then as I was throwing the penny out and I released it, I looked over, and lo and behold, this was on the in the parking lot right next to me. That's 2 nickels and a penny.
Yes.
2 nickels and a penny. And then I said, 2 nickels and a penny. I said, boy, money is just flowing in me today, right? So what I did was I got out the car. I went and found the penny I threw out, picked up the 2 nickels and the penny, then got the penny I had threw out, and then I just threw out a nickel. I said, I'm just going to invest a nickel back into the flow, and got back in my car and drove off, right? What you have to learn to do is that happens in every aspect of your life. Every aspect of your life. If you are saying things, even in your inner thoughts, you have to become more conscious of your inner thoughts. Even if right now you can't control it, right? Because sometimes I still have thoughts that just go and I can't control it. It's okay. But being conscious of it so that you can do what? Disrupt it, interfere with it, replace something new that you actually do want, right? Kind of like if you're feeling sad and you don't want to feel sad today, right? Like you said, Carrie, put on some prank call and listen to that, right? It's about connecting to the source that is you, that is creating this life. The reason why you think it's a source outside of you is because we're all sources of creation. And some people are so connected to their source power that you instead of wanting to give them that power, you prefer to give it to some outside entity, right? But you have to give it back to yourself, right? And then you got to find joy in the smallest connections of you and the life you're creating.
Yes, absolutely. And we got a comment here from Brother Ron. He says, I see God as a man, but the Bible says the Father, a supernatural spiritual being. Otherwise, understand and love your reasons for changing the name. Yes, I like it. I like
I
it.
like it. I like
And that's
it.
the thing about the conversation. This is not a form of absolutes.
It's there. Yeah. It's only absolute to you, right? And if you're open, it's not even absolute to you because you're gonna grow tomorrow.
Hey, that part, right? Once you get a hold of one, you're like, well, shoot. I
God
know
darn.
that's how it is to me. Yeah, and I was just thinking, if y'all have never watched the movie Waking Life, it is such a good movie. And I will say, it's a movie, though, every single time I watch it, I see something different, and it shows me my growth in my thinking every single time I watch this movie. It's so good. It's a paintimation. And, but yeah, it's called
Yeah.
Waking Life. It's a very good movie. That's a good movie to watch.
Yeah. I
So
was gonna
yeah,
ask you. I was gonna ask you what was the name of this movie because I love that.
yeah.
What you were saying. Yeah.
Mhm.
Waking Life. Okay. I'm gonna check it out.
It's
You
real
know
good.
what movie I rewatched that really made a lot of sense, like to me in this place where I'm at on my journey? The Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Mm,
You
that's a powerful movie.
But in the time, it's just like all like just the fairy tale of what it is. But in reality, that's life. They're
Yeah.
giving each element that they already have and just showing them that it's there. And you create that yellow brick road and those lives that you want. And I watched it the other night and I'm like, wow, they were trying to teach us some amazing things that I wasn't in a place to see, but now I just seen it from a whole new lens. And
Yeah.
yeah,
What?
Yeah.
What? Think about it, Raymell. She was trying to get to the wizard,
mm-hmm.
right? And when she discovered the wizard, right, she was thinking of the wizard as being this big, powerful being, etc. And then when she discovered the wizard was basically just a regular old small person, nothing grand about him, and he was just as scared,
Mm-hmm.
right? He was just as scared, and so when she finally was able to be able to get back home, she found that she already possessed
Mm-hmm.
what she needed
Mm-hmm.
They all did.
to get back to Kansas. They all
They
did.
all had what
They
they
all had
needed
it,
within
right?
them. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the power of self belief. It's like I I got it.
Yeah.
I already had, and then this is the thing. I always had it.
Always had
Yeah.
it.
Like
And
that
never
song says, it's the God in me.
never
In
left.
me. Absolutely. And we have got to stop relinquishing that power. God gave it to you for a reason. The presence, the source, all of it, what is in you came with you. It's not something you have to find. It's not something you have to seek. It's always been there.
It's always,
It's
always,
always
it's
been
always
there.
there. It's
And so
always there.
from where we came from to where we are now to where we are going, that part always been there. Always.
Always, always. And it'll never leave. It'll never leave.
Yes. And
Yeah,
that power that you possess is the exact power you need to create the life that you want. The one
absolutely.
that my new favorite word is curator. You are the
The
curator.
curator.
You are the curator of your life. Because I said that, I was on the live the other day and I said puppeteer, and then I forget who it was. I heard say curator yesterday. I'm like, that's the word. That's the word I've been looking for.
Yeah, I usually say puppeteer too. I'm gonna start using curator. I like curator.
I know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
It's
that's a better word.
different. It's
Yeah,
curator.
it's a better word. It's a better word. I mean, think about it, right? The world that we live in, the America that we live in, it's been curated.
Mhm.
The thing is that we think that the curation of it is by something or some beings other than ourselves,
Yeah.
right? But when you start to realize that the creation of this life was by Carrie, by Sean Speaks, by Raymell, by Ryan, by Lori, by we all play a part. Now the
Yeah.
question you have to ask yourself is what part do you want to play? Right?
Right.
You can be a participant, you
Mhm.
can be a victim, or
Mhm.
you can be a creator. Or you can know that in different places and spaces, you are actually all three. right? You know what I'm saying? But at the end of it all, you're still the creator because you choose to participate.
There you go.
Right? Right? And you also choose to be a victim, right?
Yeah.
People choose to be victims all day long, right? Let's take a relationship. Let's do something practical, right? If you're in a relationship and let's say somebody do you wrong the first time, you're a victim, right? And I didn't say you necessarily chose to be a victim that first time because you didn't necessarily know that the person was going to do you wrong.
Right.
But if the person continues to do you wrong and you continue to stay, now you are a volunteer for victimhood. Right? You're volunteering.
Take his head off.
you're volunteering for that. Right? Now, if you're conscious of the fact that you are volunteering to play the victim, then you still are the source power of that. The problem happens is that we like to play victim and then close our eyes to the fact that we're playing victim and say, Raymell, you hurt me. No, Raymell did not hurt you. Raymell had already put you on notice that he was hurtful, right? You chose to remain and continue to be hurt because you could have say, you know what? Raymell may be nice, but Raymell, you good looking. You fine, but you know what? You hurt. My experience with you brings me pain. And because my experience with you continuously is bringing me pain, I am going to cut off this experience because I no longer want to keep volunteering for a role that I don't want to play.
Come on. Curate it.
Curate.
You know, create what you want to experience. And once you experience it, if you didn't like it, do something different so that you don't have that same experience again, expecting to like it any better.
Exactly.
You know, it's your decision. Either you have all the power or you give people your power, which is still within your power. You giving your power away is still you working in your power.
Absolutely. You have the power in everything. I was working on this sermon one time about the woman with the issue of blood. And you know, where she went to several doctors to try to get healed, couldn't get healed. And then she heard about Jesus and said, you know, if I could just go, you know, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, I could be made whole. Then she, you know, worked her way through the crowd, etc., touched his hem. And he basically turned to her and, you know, he turned to the crowd and to his disciples and said, who touched me? And they were like, okay, well, how am I going to be able to tell you who touched you with all these people touching up on you, right? And then she stepped up and said it was I. And then Jesus turned to her and says, your woman, your faith has healed you, right? And I always was taught this scripture to really give focus on the him, on the Jesus part. But as I started to grow, I began to realize Jesus was just a character in the story, right? The change actually occurred for her when she made a decision that she was going to be healed from touching his garment. She was going to be healed from her action, right? That is when her healing actually took place. And when you start to really look at it like that, it's like, okay, wait a minute. It's all about my decisions. The star of the show of life, of your life, are your decisions. Right?
I mean, the scripture says it. Your faith has made you whole.
Your faith has made you whole.
Yeah, not my healing.
Not my healing. Not even my garment.
Your faith.
Your faith.
Absolutely.
Your faith.
Absolutely.
Your faith.
I love that. I love that. So, well, as we come to a close, y'all knocking, I'm still taking notes. So, yeah. I'm like, for the second time, dang, it's 3:05. But listen, I appreciate both of you. Sean, they requested you back by, popular demand. So, thank you so much. Because I really just asked Raymell to jump on this morning as well. So, thank you so much for being here because both of you add so much value, not just to my platform, but to my life. And I really, really appreciate the conversations we have because these are all the conversations that I crave. Lori already done put part 3.
Oh my goodness.
Now, last week it was 2. This week it's 3. Let's see how many we have on the panel next week. Maybe it'll be 4 or 5. I don't know.
Well, but you know what it is though, when you start to really understand your power and understand other people's power, and then you start to connect with people who understand their power and understand your power, then you begin to really understand that you're having the life you want to have and experiencing the life you want to experience is more than possible, right? Because you're now creating sort of an energy whirlwind, right? And in that whirlwind, you're creating and you're connecting, you're bringing people into your world, right? That can help you construct the life that you want. And you get to the point where you become hungry for it, right? I can conversate like this all day.
All day.
I don't get bored.
Right. Absolutely. That's just like this movie that we just watched, and Angel and Lori both watched it to me, and they all agree. If you weren't at the place in your life that you were at, this movie would be something that you look at and be like, "What? What are they talking about?" Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And not to mention, it's a painimation. So the movement is very glitchy yet fluid all at the same time. So it really uses all your senses, and you really have to focus. And I think that they did that on purpose, because the fact that you do have to focus so hard, it means your brain is really listening, like actively listening. And there's different accents, there's different cadences, there's music, there's this, there's that. It's just an amazing movie, but it's about where you find yourself on this path. It really depends on where you find yourself, what you gather from it. But I would suggest it to anybody, because even if you're at the point where you don't even understand what they're saying, it'll spark your interest to maybe figure out what they're talking about.
I'm gonna check it out.
You gotta see it. I rave about it all the time. But just saying, like, all the things that happen and all the things that just place themselves in your life, it's really a creation. So if you want to add more value, want to add more excitement, start paying attention to yourself. Start paying attention to those things that get you going. Pay attention to those types of conversations that you can have all day. That'll tell you more about yourself. When you can get lost in a conversation, pay attention to the subject that you are on, because that's probably the next thing that you need to dive into. Yep. That's the next thing. That'll be your next awakening. So
that's where your purpose lies. That's where your purpose is. Your purpose is in that.
Yeah. When that inner ear sparks up, you own to something.
That's when you have to really connect with that inner creator within yourself. So you really got to get to know yourself inside and out, because that's to pay attention to the things that are in your face. A lot of things that we think are so far away are right here, and it's like
right there. You can't see the forest for the tree.
You're looking for your phone, and it's on your ear. You're like, "Where's the phone? Where's the phone? Where's the phone? Where's that?"
I gotta go.
And that's how it is for things in life. It's right there. We just a lot of times get lost in the world and forget that we create this beautiful world by our own beautiful experiences. So I think each and every one of you guys here, because I love you guys. This conversation gave me life.
Absolutely. Well, we may do this again next week. We'll see what the vibe is like. I mean, I'll definitely be here. We'll see who show up with me. So as we close out, Sean, if you want to give your last words, Raymell, you give your last words, and then I'm going to hang on out of here.
Well, I just want to say, first of all, thank you for having me back. Totally I enjoy this conversation. I can have it always. Yes. When you connect with your purpose, as Raymell just said, you're going to find it was right in front of your face. And you're also going to find that it's something that you probably constantly said to yourself about yourself, but never really did pay attention to it. What happened? Constantly said something to yourself about yourself, but never really paid attention to it. And you're going to find that if you just stop and connect with yourself, that you're going to find that your purpose is going to come from you out, right? That's the reason why, and I say it all the time, I almost say it every time somebody talks to me. That's why my mission is to help you see with your own ears, see with your own eyes, hear with your own ears, act aligned with your own heart, so that you can live a life of your greatest dreams And the reason why I have that mission was because I've always felt like I should be able to live a life of my greatest dreams. I just thought that there was something that was wrong with me, right? That I did something that was missing, that I wasn't supposed to do it. And once I connected to my right, my being to have my greatest life, it became my mission and my purpose.
Amen. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Brother Raymell, any
I
closing remarks?
just, you truly create your reality, and there's really no right or wrong way on this, like in this beautiful experience. So don't focus on, am I doing it right? It has to be perfect. Just know that every movement, every step is the right step if you're in movement of becoming better. So don't let others tell you what you should or shouldn't be doing. Follow your heart. Follow that inner creator in yourself, because it's always trying to reveal something to you when you're open to listen and receive it.
Mm-hmm.
I received that.
I love it.
Beautiful.
I love it. As I close out, I just want to really echo the words of my brother Raymell and my sister Sean. You are an empty vessel. You let things filter and come and go, because there's no good, there's no bad. All there is now. What do you want to feel like? And go feel that way. Find something that makes you feel that way. Create your life, create your experience, because this is your life. And this is the only go round you're going to get as this person or in this way with these experiences. So make the life that you want, because you can. Because
Absolutely. Because you can. Because it's your life.
it's your life.
Reality.
Yep.
Thank you. Thank you so much for rocking with us and being with us today. Have an amazing day. And
Ashe.
I
Ashe.
share.
Ashe.